All right, everybody. We are set with another episode of Release the Quacken. Wait for people to jump on here for a minute. We kind of got a little bit of a short crew tonight with a little bit earlier start time. Some kid duties, I think, and stuff, getting kids ready for bed. But it kind of helps our listeners and watchers can get on a little earlier instead of waiting until 9 o'clock to see our beautiful faces. But tonight we got Lonnie joining us tonight and our special guest, Jake, who is not from State Farm. And he's not
Oh,
wearing khakis, but he's got the red shirt on. So
I
it's
got
a good.
my marathon shirt on.
Nice. So how's everybody doing?
Doing well.
I'm good.
So we got week 9. How did that go for everybody? Lonnie, how'd your week 9 go?
Well, it went. I ended up doing the two maintenance runs. I missed my 3 mile Saturday. Just got really busy. It was a busy week. So I did do a couple of strength training sessions. So I've been working on that, trying to get the core up. And then just had a busy week at work. So my plan is to try to get that 3 miles in Monday, and I'm just going to switch it up. So I'll get it in, but it'll just be tomorrow.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now, Jake, you are running Dopey this year. Is that correct?
Yes, my first dopey.
And you've
Ah,
had some other Run Disney experiences in the past. You've
Yeah, I've done. So I did marathon last year, just the marathon, because that's. And then I did Goofy in 2020, which was right shortly before the world shut down. So um, this will be my third race weekend and dopey. So
your first doping.
yeah,
only at Disney when you say just a marathon, right?
Right.
Everywhere
yeah,
else, it's a major thing with a marathon, but I guess they have us tricked where we say, oh, just a marathon.
yep.
Well, if I
Yeah.
remember right,
Definitely.
even your Goofy from 2 years ago, you put an asterisk beside your marathon. You said,
Yeah. Oh man, that was so frustrating. So 2020 was the hot year.
Yes,
And
it is.
I mean, I was okay with it because I'd been training. I live in Texas. I've been training in the heat, humidity the whole time. But they got to start late start, and they decided they needed to cut the course short, mile and a half or whatever it was. So instead of whatever that road is coming out of Animal Kingdom, we're dying on that bridge or whatever that
Mhm.
is, that tree, and then they made us hang a left instead of going to Blizzard Beach, and I was mad
so when you
because
got
I
the
was,
Coronado, you made the left instead of the right. At
yeah.
that, hmm.
Mhm.
So
I guess
and that was,
it was so hot though. You're right, Jake. It was a lot of people were disappointed, but man, it was like the surface of the sun there with that
yeah,
late start, right? And then what made it even kind of, I guess, worse is that when they made everybody turn left, you had the people that are coming from Blizzard Beach. So immediately the course went from being, nice, leisurely, where you can space out to crowded, right?
yeah.
So yeah, yeah, I remember
And
that
there's
race.
naturally a bottleneck right there, anyways, because they kind
Mhm.
of shuffle you to the sidewalk and through the boardwalk, and everything's already kind of tight. So
Yep.
yeah, that was supposed to be my first marathon ever. I trained. I didn't miss one training session, nothing. And then, oh man, I was mad, but
Yep.
it's all
So what
good.
did your training look like this week? I know you got some other stuff on your calendar. So how'd your week
Yes.
go?
So I'm my midweek runs are the typical 45 minutes. I ran 19 yesterday, in preparation for a half marathon in 3 weeks, and it's kind of crazy, I know, but I actually talked to Jeff Galloway once. He came to Texas, came to Fort Worth for the Cowtown, and had a booth and stuff. And I asked him how to. I was shooting that race. I was shooting for a sub 2 hour half, and I asked him, what he would suggest to reduce that time for a half marathon. He said you have to train to 19 miles 3 weeks before a half to get your best time. I said okay. So I worked that into my schedule this summer. That's where I'm at.
So you're 3 weeks out from your half. Then
Yeah.
is your sub 2? Is that what you're shooting for this race?
That was initially my plan, but my pace right now, even when I'm trying to push, is 10 and a half or 11-minute mile. I don't think there's any way I'm gonna cut it, cut my per mile average down to 9 minutes and 9 seconds.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of just gonna go see how it goes.
It's just so
But
hot there.
sorry, Disney. I was worried about having a proof of time for Dopey, but they changed all their requirements. I don't even need it anymore because my old proof of time is fine. So
Nice.
sorry, Lonnie, interrupted.
Oh no, I just say it's so hot out there, man. So even at 10 minute, 10.5 minute, that's still very impressive to me.
Yeah.
You're running this.
Absolutely. So what's your training schedule looking like after your half in 3 weeks? Are you going to drop down and follow into like the normal dopey cycle, or is you still going to have it modified out? Because you're going to be well above where everybody else is heading into this.
Yeah, so the half is I think is the same weekend that that the regular plan calls for a 13-mile run. So I'm just gonna pick up from there. So I'll go 13, whatever, 15, 17 for my long runs and just kind of get right back on track.
Okay.
So
So
that's the
for
plan.
me, I missed my two 45-minute runs this week again. I did some 9-hole golf watching for 3 different matches, I think, this week. Still kind of getting over the bronchitis issues and fighting the cough, so didn't want to push it during that. Got out today for my 3 miles and slowed my intervals down. I went 15:30 instead of 30:30 or 60:30 that I've been trying to push out. Coughing was minimal, so we'll take that as a win for sure. And got them in. I wanted to make sure I got some sort of timed interval going instead of just walking here heading into next week. So made it through.
And 15:30 is kind of an interesting interval. Me and Ray Pilgrim ran that interval for our last marathon together, and I PR'd my marathon for by like a mile, or not a mile, an hour. So
Really,
yeah,
the 15:30 is a struggle for me because I feel like I'm stopping to walk so soon that it's just
yeah,
just as I get ramped up in my steps, it beeps and I'm back down. So I
yeah.
really struggle with but I needed it for my lungs today. So you made it work. But how did you feel with your ramp up and down with that? Did you feel it was quick or did it feel okay?
Well, when you run with Ray, he just goes. So as soon as his watch is buzzing, it's like, dude, wait up! I didn't even. So you gotta. I felt like we kind of just went. You just go from 0 to however fast you're going, and then you stop. So I don't know, it was okay. I've never done it that far before, but it was all right.
Hmm. So let's talk a little bit about why you do this, Jake. So let's give your Run Disney story. I know you've done the 3 events. You've done the marathon. You've done a Goofy. You're heading into Dopey this year. Why do you keep subjecting yourself to this? What's the draw for you?
Well, so I grew up playing football, contact sports, basketball. The longest I'd ever run before I started running was like a couple miles, maybe. But I injured my knee playing touch football on Thanksgiving Day once. It was like 2016, I want to say. Hyperextended my knee, sprained my ACL, PCL. Doctor said pretty quick after that, he's like, you can't go side to side or cut or anything, but if you want to run straight, you can run however long you want until you can't handle the pain. So I was putting on pounds, just sitting there. So I was like, okay, I'll start running. So I just started running to try and lose some knee injury weight and stuff. And then I was talking to Ray, who I totally blame for my Run Disney problem, Ray Pilgrim. He's like, Disney has a marathon, and I grew up going to Disneyland. I grew up in Nevada, so Disneyland was a few hours away, stuff like that. And I was like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, you should come run with me. I was like, okay, maybe. But then he said they have a diaper dash for babies. We just had my first son. And so I went home. I told my wife, I was like, hey, Disney has a marathon and they have a diaper dash. And she was sold on the diaper dash. She's like, okay, let's go. Let's do it. So uh, got into it, started, training for that first Goofy. I didn't really know much. I knew Ray had run a Goofy before, and he's run a lot of Disney races, but I think it was his first Goofy. In 2019, he ran his first Goofy, so I started running with him and all stuff, and then we had the whole marathon fiasco in 2020, and And my son didn't even end up doing the diaper dash, by the way, because he was napping or something. So
Yeah, smart baby.
yeah, so um, oh, I did talk my wife into doing the half marathon that year with me. So my plan was to go slow half marathon with my wife, and then do the marathon the next day myself. My wife decided to book it and go really fast, way faster than we had trained for the half. So I was toast for the marathon, but it worked out. But we went slow, and then so now it's kind of like, you know, rest, you know, get back my marathon. That's what I was trying to do in 2021. Then it got canceled. And then 2022 was finally my first marathon. So I had all these plans to run all these marathons, but I canceled everything. I was like, no, Disney's going to be my first marathon. So I had to put everything off for 2 years, but the whole world was put off for 2 years. So that worked out. So, and now I'm just keep going back because now I got to get dopey. So,
The extra 2 shirt or 4 shirts, I guess.
yeah.
4
Six shirts.
4 more than your Goofy, though, right?
Yes. Yeah. So,
Yeah, that escalated quickly. You went from marathon to from Goofy to marathon to Dopey. That's that escalated fast.
well, I mentioned this one time in the Lizard Facebook. I didn't realize that Goofy training, or the difference between Goofy training and Dopey training, is like uh it's two like mock Dopies basically. But for Goofy, you're running all the back-to-backs.
Mm-hmm.
Dopey's basically the same thing, except there's like the 2 extra runs for the mock Dopey twice. So it's
Yeah.
like 4 extra runs and that's it. It's like, dang, I should
Yep.
have just done that the first time.
Right.
But
Yeah, I think time constraints for people seems to be the biggest downturn from Goofy to Dopey. I mean,
yeah,
just the time off work, the extra days and everything. It's not so much a training cycle to it. It's just the time commitments for the extra time away.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. You know, Dopey, you're looking at going down on Wednesday at least, right?
mhm.
So yeah, as compared to Goofy, just go down on the Friday.
You know,
Yeah, I think that's the biggest hurdle
Yeah.
time off work.
absolutely.
And
Actually,
are getting up early, which will get you every time. Which will get you every time.
I almost overslept the marathon last year. It's
Oh wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
And I turned my phone on do not disturb, right? And then I fell asleep before I set my alarm the night before. So people are Ray's trying to call me like, dude, where are you at? I'm like, I didn't even hear my phone ring. It's on do not disturb. So that was great.
So
I missed
I
the
think there's a
Lizard
whole
picture.
Seinfeld episode about that for the AM to PM for the or New York Marathon. So you got to make sure
Oh.
you have your buddy system in place to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'll do things differently next time.
I think we all learned those lessons for sure.
Yeah. We're gonna set up a coalition of the willing. We're gonna have like one person calling everybody. So that we can be like, you ready? Okay, you call this person. You ready? Okay, you call this person. Let's go.
Sounds good.
Nothing would be worse than getting through the 3 races and then missing the marathon start just because you slept in or overslept and then so
Or if the buses didn't get you there on time.
We've seen that happen as well. You know, I was on I can't remember what race it was, but the bus driver got lost.
Oh.
And by the time we got there, I had to just run straight through out to the corral and start running. It was the craziest thing. You know, we kept telling the bus driver, "You're going the wrong way," and and he's like, "Just driving." He's like, "Just relax. It's cool." Okay, it's cool. All right.
As you see the runners passing you on the road.
Yeah, literally. It's crazy. Crazy.
I don't think they'll have that issue. I will be waiting for the first bus to be there every morning. I am that guy. So I'll make sure I call and get you guys up and ready to go.
I don't know how it works. We're moving, so we're saying Fort Wilderness for 2 nights, and then we're moving to Contemporary. Can you catch the monorail?
Actually, we stayed at Bay Lake last year. So for the half and the full, they don't have a bus. You have to take the monorail. So,
that'll be easier, I think.
Yeah, just you take the monorail to TCC, you switch over to the other one, drops you right off at Epcot. You're good to go.
Okay.
So it worked out really good for us last year. So,
I mean, Jake, if you add it all up, you probably walk into the corral and everything else, you went past the marathon. So man, take that asterisk off it, right? You walked about 2 miles before you got there, and then you got to start running.
That's not. Yeah, I get. I mean, but I don't know.
I
That's
don't
what
know.
everyone's saying, but it's just not the same.
Yeah, and a lot of people felt that way. It's it was unfortunate, especially with the late start, right? Because I remember they moved it up, and yet still we're sitting there and we're like, okay, it's 5 o'clock. You moved it up, 5:15, 5:20, about 5:35. You see people running into their corrals. Next thing you know, it's just like one mass start. It was just like go, 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 go. So hopefully we do better this time. But they did better last time, right? So this time I'm sure they worked out the kinks.
They still shot the waves through pretty quick on the marathon because they knew it was going to get hot.
Oh yeah.
I think there's 25, 30 minutes before they cycled everybody through.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty quick launch.
Mm-hmm. I did also think though that if you're going to pass out at 24.5 miles, you're going to pass out like at 20. Like there's no difference between being out there the extra mile and a half. I don't know. I'm still bitter about it.
I don't know. That extra couple miles is still pretty rough.
Yeah. It was hot.
Yeah. We're gonna have to change that road to Sponge Alley. Oh, you remember it had just sponges all over the place. People were on the side laid out. So we passed them out. It's like, man, I hope that guy is okay. But it was pretty bad out there.
I think that's when. So I was running with like Chris and Mandy and Alex. I think that's where we picked you up, was along there.
Oh yeah, y'all saved me, man. I was in bad shape. I was by myself, man. I was in no man's land. I think I was seeing stuff. It was just
yeah. That's where I first met you.
Yeah.
Who's this guy? Oh,
who's this guy by himself? He's talking to himself. He's just
he's going that big loop in a circle about 3 times.
He's disoriented.
Forward eventually.
Yeah. I was like, Ray, is that you? Is that you?
All right. Well, so what's our calendar looking for next week? What do we got on there? Do you have that handy?
Yeah. Next week's the big week. Week 10, our 2 45-minute runs, followed by an 11-mile on Saturday, which is easy for Jake. He just finished 19, but 11 miles on Saturday. So
that's a huge mental hurdle for me. That's your, like, the 10K mark was my first one, because anything over a 10K, the miles start to get real to me. Now we're hitting double-digit miles, so that's like the mental hurdle that we got to start clearing those. So, but if you look at it, it's only 2 miles farther than what you did last week.
Yeah,
and you're not doing 11, you're doing just 2 more.
Yeah.
So I think we can all fit 2 more into our.
Yeah. And this is our last long run when we do basically solo. Starting week 12, we have the Saturday, we'll be doing a 4-miler, and then we'll be doing a 13-mile, right? So now we're starting to get into those, really into that goofy, dopey start to back-to-back runs.
Right. Mm-hmm. So the last easy long run.
The whole back-to-back makes it so much more different.
Yeah. That's when you're like, it's getting real.
Yeah.
It does.
Real in these dopey streets.
Do you guys do anything different? Like, I know people are like, hydrating between the 2 back-to-backs and stuff, but do you guys do anything different, like nutrition-wise or anything like that to handle back-to-backs?
Well, for me, Saturday runs are followed by football season, where Ohio State football kicks off. So there's not going to be a whole lot of different nutritional value added to my schedule there. It's going to be football foods, I'm guessing, at least for the next 12 weeks or so. But definitely lots of water. Highly recommend make sure you stay hydrated during these runs. You do not want to get severely dehydrated. That does not end well for anybody. So make sure you're drinking lots of water, especially as the temperatures are still up there. But I don't do much different, I think, as of now. What about you, Lonnie?
Yeah, I start to play with my nutrition when I do the back-to-backs now, just to see, what can I do? What can I get away with? What's good for me, like recovery after the first run, to make sure, and then I kind of make sure I kind of stay on my feet as well. Right. So even though we're starting off with this slow, it'll be 4 miles, that first one, just kind of make sure I don't just come back, finish that, just plop down. Right. So just kind of keep hydrating, keep moving, because that's the challenging thing about these races as well. What happens after the race? So I kind of play with that a little bit.
It's interesting. So I come like football background, lifting weights is, big part of football. And I was actually following his name is Chris Gethin. He's like a professional bodybuilder, right? This huge guy, like thinking like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime guy, but he decided that he wanted to do cardio stuff, so he was switching from bodybuilding stuff to Ironman.
Mhm.
And so I kind of followed his thing for that, and he's talking about taking like muscle recovery. He also owns like a nutrition company, so like protein, all that other like all the powders and stuff that you take. So he was talking about, during one of his training runs, he'd be drinking like recovery formula like throughout his first part of it, so his muscles could recover faster
Hmm.
on the backside. And it's kind of like that's kind of like weight training. Like the whole idea is get your muscles recovered as fast as possible so you can hit it again and make them as big as fast and as big as possible, right? So I'm kind of taking that, probably just hit some like aminos and stuff during my first back to back, and then try and get my body recovering before I even finish the first run of back to backs.
Hmm.
So, and then
Well,
like icing and all that stuff, icing, rolling, all that stuff between the back to backs. So
Hmm.
Now, when you go into your back-to-backs, are you going to walk the 4 miles, or is that something you just kind of lightly jog, or what's your guys' plans on those?
I don't have time to walk. I have to go. So I usually will take it easy, like 30-30 intervals or something for the first part. And then the second back of the back to back, I'll go like my whatever I normally do. It's like right now I'm doing like 75 30s for my long runs. So something like that.
Yeah. Walking is harder than running for me. I don't know what it is. I know it's a mental thing, but if I'm out there walking, I feel like I'm wasting time.
Yeah.
So I just have to do at least, to Jake's point, just give me a little, 30-30 or something like that, just so I can get through it.
I did that last year too. I felt like, okay, it says walk, but I feel good enough. I can jog this. So I kept my intervals the same for those as I did for the long runs. And I found that was a huge detriment to me because the walking would have put me out there longer. So
Mm-hmm.
my time on my feet would have been longer. The time on my feet was the worst part of my marathon experience. Is my feet hurt so bad that my lungs were okay, my legs were okay, but I just hated putting any pressure on my feet at all. So I think I'm going to try the walking on those this time just to see how that goes. Just
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to put more steps on me, more time on my feet. It's going to take longer. I'm going to be out there a little more, and that'll help to kind of offset some of the park days that we're going to be running around some of that too. So we'll try and
That
see how
makes
it
sense.
goes. But I know it's going to be some long, long weekends.
Very
Jeff
cool.
Galloway is real wise, but I was talking to him at the expo one time, and he was saying, "Yeah, the key is walk the half marathon." And I'm looking at him like, "Jeff, man, I can't walk that much." I didn't tell him that. I said, thank you for sharing." I tell him that I can't do that, but yeah, I'm like, I got to do something. We'll usually take it easier
We
on
did.
that, but still, I can't walk that much.
We took it pretty easy for the marathon last year or the half last year. So still made it through just fine. Walked when we needed to. So,
Oh yeah,
but
Yeah.
run when the cameras pop up.
exactly. The green tent, you take off.
Just fly away like Jeff.
Easy now. Come on, Jake. So, anybody else have anything good to add for the good of the cause before we get off here tonight?
Yeah, Jake, thanks for joining us, man.
Appreciate it.
Definitely look forward to seeing you down at Marathon Weekend again this year. It's nice meeting up with you last year, and glad we get to do another adventure. So, on behalf of the Duck crew that couldn't be on tonight, and Lonnie and Jake here, remember everybody that forward is a pace. Have a great night, everybody.
Right,
Thanks.
everybody.
Bye bye.